if I have the knowledge to help people win and grow, for me to be able to just stay small would be selfish, and I don't think I would continue to help myself grow. A lot of people will take action, a lot of people won't. Yet, if you don't write it, then you don't even know where you're going. You don't even know who you're going to become. So I think that's one thing that people miss, is they're too messed up in the noise, and they hear this, and they're like, oh, I got to be here, everything. Like, no, what does the perfect day look like for you?
Right.
And are you living that?
Yeah.
And then you just live that. What is the perfect moments, and you live that every day.
Welcome back to Always Level Up the podcast. I'm your host, Carlos Garcia. I have my guest today, Scott Malouff with Malouff International Group. Welcome to the show, brother. How
Appreciate
are you?
it, brother. I'm blessed.
Love that you came and finally got you on the show. So for those that don't know you, man, tell everybody a little bit about yourself. I mean, we're talking a little bit about it right now, but for those that don't know, who's Scott Malouff?
From San Antonio. Before I was in real estate, been in real estate now. This is actually my 10th year in real estate. Before I was in real estate, I did events, so I did promotions from when I was 12 years old all the way till my upper 20s, and I would do concert promotions.
12 years old?
Yeah, I started promoting at 12
Man,
with
that's crazy.
The teen nights. So I started doing the A&H high school parties.
No way.
Yes.
I remember those.
Yeah, so I used to go inside of every high school when I was in high school and middle school and act like I went to school there. So I pretty much know like the layout of almost every high school. And everyone thinks I went to high school with them because I was in everybody's high school throughout high school, passing out flyers. So I did that through high school. And then when I turned 18, started doing 18 and up parties, started throwing concerts. First concert was at Anthro. The owner of Anthro invested for me to start a night. So we brought down Pitbull, and we did Pitbull to kick off the Thursday nights over there. And then I was doing Planeta and a couple other clubs back then.
Man,
Pure.
that's going way back, bro.
Yeah.
Planeta.
Yeah, so it was a good little soleil. Like those were, when I was like 18 to 21. Then I turned 21, started like really just doing 3 to 4 nights a week. And then I was doing the team parties as well for the kids that were in high school. Started managing a kid named AJ Hearns. Had him on tour with Drake and Lil Wayne. And then, we did that run. Then continued to do the team parties until I got to a place where I was like, you know what, I need to switch seasons. And that's when I switched over to real estate.
Nice. So what got you into into promotions and throwing parties? Like what led you there?
So when I was in middle school, I got in a lot of trouble. So that's kind of one of the reasons we moved away from the side of town we were in. And really going out kind of kept me out of trouble when I look back at it, because it was, even though it was out in the club, it was a teen night, it wasn't really out in the streets doing drugs or certain things like that, because they were really chaperoned by, security bouncers, everybody in there.
Well, you had a different agenda too.
Like I was making money.
Yeah,
so
you was working. You weren't partying.
At first, I just wanted to go because it was something to do.
Right.
And we would go, and we would get there early because first 50 people would get in free, and then Abe and Hannock were the ones throwing the party, and they're like, hey, you want to get VIP? I said, what's that look like? They're like, well, you pass out flyers at your school. You come here, you get VIP. You don't have to get here at, 2 hours before the club opens. So I was like, all right, cool. So I'm like 12, 13 years old. I'm like, that's a bet. So then I start getting to the club, 20, 30 deep. We walk in, we cut the line. And they see, like, we're coming with a good group of people. Because at that point, I already went to 2 different high schools. So I'm already knowing a good amount of people from both schools, able to bring them out. And they're like, do you want to get paid for this? And I'm like, well, what's that look like? And they're like, well, we're going to pick you up from your school. And you're going to go inside all these other high schools and act like you go to school there and find out who the influencer is in that school. Give them a break of flyers, become friends with them. And then from there, that's going to be like your connect, yet you're going to get paid for pretty much what you bring in. So I was like, all right, cool. So I would go to these other high schools. Back then, you would look for the freestyle circles, or you look for certain thing and just kind of walk in, see who's the break dancers, everybody. So I would look for those groups, see who like the main dude was, kind of people watch, and then just make friends with them and then get their number. This is really before social media. So back then, you would have in everybody's cell phone, a lot of people's home numbers.
Pagers.
Yeah. and we would just build relationships. And from there, just when I turned 18, because I was doing it for so long, I knew so many people that were older than me that, you know, I would say, hey, we're going to throw this concert. They already knew me from back in the teen nights. And it just helped me kind of grow that environment where they kind of had respect for me because of the hustle and everything that we were already doing. So that was kind of how I got into it. It was a good way for me to make money as well.
But money wasn't the initial motive.
Not in the beginning.
No.
In the beginning, it was just really going out. Like,
But once you saw
once I saw that you could make some money with that, I was like, man, this is good. And my mom, she didn't really know what was going on because she had multiple sclerosis. She got diagnosed when I was like 13, 14. So she didn't work. So she just knew I was bringing money home, so she was cool. Yeah, so it was good.
Like, all right, as long as you ain't doing anything bad, right?
Yeah, as long as I'm not, because I had already got in trouble in middle school, so she was already kind of like careful on who I hung out with and things that was
When you
going
say
on.
you got in trouble, what happened, if you don't mind sharing?
It was two different things. I mean, this was in 7th grade. We lived at the house right outside the trailer park, and we rented that. My mom rented that house, and some things went down over there where some of the kids in the neighborhood broke into some of the houses there. I was with them, but I wasn't in the actual house. So yet, because I was with them, I got arrested. 7th grade, burglary of a habitation. They dropped mine down to criminal mischief because I didn't actually go in the house. And then 8th grade, something happened again at a military base, and then we got caught stealing from Foley's.
Oh man!
So it was like 3 things back to back to back, and I'm not even in high school yet.
Yeah. Hold on, we're going down the wrong path.
Yeah,
here.
so I was like, I really gotta switch it up. So, you know, I got really focused on sports. Got in, you know, playing basketball, football. That was really kind of like my outlet. Was like, okay, I'm just gonna focus on this crowd because this crowd wasn't gonna get me there. And then we moved, which was a blessing because once I moved, I was like,
new environment, fresh start.
Yeah, it was because just a lot of the dudes that I hung out back then, they're either locked up, dead, or in jail. I mean, they're in jail. Some of them made it out, but a lot of them just
or hooked on drugs or something, right?
Just didn't even leave that world. Stay in the same neighborhood we grew up in back in the day, and just I still got love from them all. Just had
a lot of that's part of the culture. Like, man, people, you know, I grew up, you know, out there on the west side, and you know, a lot of times it's like, hey, never change, or you know, I'm never leaving the hood, you know, and you know, hey, like that's not the mentality for growth.
Yeah, and it's sad. Like you want to be able to help level your people up, yet they're gonna hold you down if you don't separate yourself somewhat. And if they're your true people and they really got love for you, they want to see you excel, and they're gonna have love for you even if you don't talk to them for a year, 2 years. They're still gonna come back and say, you know what, that's my guy.
Yeah, I think the main thing with that is that you know, when you do make that, you know, transition into wanting a better life and doing things that are going to improve yourself, you know, you learn a lot of things along the way, and then once you acquire these skills, this knowledge, you know, you can always go back and share it, lace them up with this knowledge, put them on game right, and hey, like here's some things you might want to consider doing, and that can change your life.
And it's up to them to make that decision, too,
right?
Because in the beginning, you're going to get those conversations of, oh, man, you changed, or and you ain't who you was back in the day. And it's like, yeah, I changed. I had to change. To become who I'm going to become, I can't continue to be the same person I was.
Right.
There's a saying that no man or woman stands in the same river twice. Hey. So who you are today is not who you were 6 months ago, and who you are today is not you can be 6 months from now. Yet if you are that same person, then there's an issue.
Right. Yeah, so 100%. And, you know, with that transition, man, and the desire for growth, you know, I think what you said right there, you know, environment change is also key to that. You know, like being able to take yourself out of one environment and put yourself in a better environment to where you have to meet new people, and then you start to learn, like, all right, how can I reinvent myself? You know, like what does that look like? Who do I want to be? And what do I want to be known for, you know? I think that's the main thing.
And that was one of the reasons I came into real estate, because it was time for me to reinvent myself.
Nice.
I look at everybody has a gift, and my gift was being a connector. Yeah, I was connected for the wrong purposes. Yeah. So for me, it was like, okay, the club had its seasons, and there are some things that happened where, you know, I would get a call from such and such, and this person got a DWI, or this person fought this person. I know both people, and I got to squash that because I got a party the next day, and I know they all coming back. And it's like,
and we can't be fighting.
I can't be fighting again because they just messed up the last night. So I'm having to like call people and say, hey man, like this is a good dude, or like, hey, let's talk about it, like squash it, like let's be cool. And you know, after all that, they would all usually become friends. But there was one night, there was a big fight broke down, and I was friends with everybody at that party, and one guy ended up getting killed by somebody else I knew, and I was like, damn. So at that moment, I sat down. I said, this is not like where I want to be no more. Like I have to make a transition. So I didn't see the actual shooting, but I know that it was a defining moment for me on what I'm gonna do moving forward. Because if I stayed in that nightlife world where it was going with shootings and things were going a little crazy, it wasn't gonna help me project to my true potential. So that's when one of my other boys would get into real estate, and I said, you know what, I'm gonna go and take my classes with you as well. Took my classes. It took me forever to get my license because I wasn't really a test taker. So
you ain't the only one, brother.
So I'm a little dyslexic, can't really spell for nothing. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna pass this test. So I kept taking it. Eventually passed it, and then went straight to Keller Williams. First year in the business, sold 85 properties as an individual agent. Second year is when I started my team.
Nice. So, as we talk about your journey into real estate, what was the main inspiration for you to become an agent? Like, what did it for you? What made you know, like, hey, this is the path?
I had a couple uncles in real estate. So I have my grandpa's brother. He was in real estate back in the day, and then my uncle, he was in the Air Force, and when he got out, he got into real estate. So it's kind of in the back of my head. I didn't know really what it had. Like, I didn't know everything that came with it. I just know, like, I knew a good amount of people, and I thought that if I get in real estate, because of my relationships, they're gonna buy with me. Right. And that's not how it happened in the beginning. I had really, like, we were talking about rebranding. It took me about 2 to 3 years before I started getting calls from people I knew that were like, hey, I want to buy, or hey, I want to sell. In the beginning, that was like, okay, we're going to learn how to do for sale by owners. We're going to learn how to call expires. We're going to door knock. We're going to do all these activities because my phone wasn't ringing like and how I expected it. So I learned how to do all the lead generation activities that a lot of people weren't doing. And from there, that's kind of how I grew the business and how I still do it today with agents that come in, because you start off prospecting based, marketing enhanced, and then over time you become marketing enhanced, database driven. Now my database runs the business because I have such a good database, and I rebranded myself to where people hear my name, they think real estate. Compared to back in the day, they hear my name and say, hey, where we going tonight?
Yeah.
So it's changed a little bit.
Yeah, it's changed a lot for sure. I mean, you see your signs everywhere, man.
We've been
I
blessed.
see the listings everywhere. You're out there. So, and what motivated you to build your own team? I know it's one thing, because real estate can be very individualistic, right? Mm-hmm. It's like, you got to get out there and you got to hustle, and it's eat what you kill, type of environment, and then to do all that and say, hey, like, man, first year I do 85 transactions. I'm gonna put a team together. Like, man, that's a whole nother level.
At that point, you're kind of forced to start some type of team because you're gonna reach a ceiling, especially on the buyer side. Because on the listing, I could work 20 listings at a time. Yet on the buyer side, I can't work 20 buyers at one time. So I needed that leverage, and then I also needed leverage. I got leverage right when I started when it came to the paperwork. So they were like, hey, we have in the office at Keller Williams, they're like, hey, we have a transaction coordinator. They can help you with the paperwork. It's going to be $450 a contract. I'm like, you got someone that's going to help me with that? I'm like, immediately you can have that, because I need someone that's going to need to look over this anyways, because I'm probably going to get sued because I'm probably going to put something wrong somewhere. So
somebody help me out.
Yeah, so I had a good mentor my first year when it came to the transaction coordination, until my second year is when I brought on she's now my director of operations. She came on as my assistant that year. Victoria, and she came on as my assistant, and I brought on Jev as my buyer's agent that year, and we did 161 transactions that year. So that year was kind of the year of understanding what teams would look like. We took classes called career visioning that kind of taught you how to build a team. I started going to different conventions. So there's a big one in once a year called Family Reunion with KW. And there's about 20,000 people at this convention. And the first year I went, we walk in and I'm like, and you see the stage and you see the agents that are on the stage and they're talking about, they're doing 300-400 transactions a year, 100 million in production. And I'm like, damn, how do I get on that level? Like, what do they do? And then it's like, well, they build teams, and there's a book called the MREA, the Millionaire Real Estate Agent. And, I read that book, and then I was like, okay, so if I build a team, I can create the leverage. The leverage will be able to help other people be able to make money, yet at the same time, we can help build the organization, what it looks like. So I started building the team, and then there was a lot of teams that were starting to expand. So there's a class called ESO, Expansion Systems Operations. And I was like, okay, so I'm going to expand, because that's what everybody else was doing. But then I was taking the class, I'm like, why do I got to expand when I can build a team to a place where it becomes a platform to where I can have teams build a team inside of the team? So that's where I started, where agents can earn the right to build a team inside of my team. And it's inside of our team. So once an agent reaches $4 million in annual production, then they can start bringing agents underneath them, where they get a rev share of that agent's production. They become that agent's mentor, and it's a team inside of a team. And that's how the model's been built, and that's how one of the ways that we are able to keep people inside of our organization. And then when I look at other businesses on which ones I'm looking to mimic, my goal is to mimic a mega church, because when I look at a mega church, their culture is how they thrive. And for me, the culture is how we're going to continue to build our organization. So we have chairs and co-chairs when it comes to different parts of our small groups. So our small groups, we have faith, we have philanthropy, we have social, we have wellness, we have events, we have education, and we have different people that are in charge of each one of those departments inside of our team. So like for philanthropy, our next event, I believe, is our for Mother's Day. So that we just finished our turkey drive. So our next one's going to be for Mother's Day. We do a lot for single moms. And then we do like a single moms brunch. We rent out a restaurant, and it's the day before Mother's Day. Last year we had about 50 single moms. We have speakers come and speak to them, lift up the moms. We have some things for the kids. We do the backpack thing for that one. This last year we did 1,000 backpacks with school supplies. We ran out a trampoline park, so that's a dope one as well. And then we did a turkey. So then that's kind of that end.
Tour drives too.
Tour
right?
drives, yeah, we do
that.
it all on that end. And then for faith, we do our team Bible study once a month. And then we have a woman's Bible study once a month also.
Man, I love that, man. So as a faith-based leader, how has your faith shaped your approach to the industry?
It's the foundation.
Yeah.
So when you keep God first, no matter what happens in your life, I think that you're going to be able to reap what comes with it. And it could be gone tomorrow, because everything that you're entrusted with, the money, the influence, the people, it could all be gone if you think that you did that yourself. God entrusts that into you because he sees something in you and he has favor on you. And I got to be careful with that, because if I ever think that I did this and God didn't help me get where I am, then he could take it away, or he could put a speed bump in front of me that's going to slow me down. And then my ego would, level me to where I'm not going to be.
Right. How did you get this mindset, in keeping, God in the center?
A lot of it had to do with, I grew up Catholic. And then so my mom passed away in 2017. And when she passed away, my faith did help me get through that season. And because I never knew my dad. So it was like, I knew my mom, I knew my grandparents. That's all I really knew. And when she passed away, I got deeper into, that's when I started going to CBC. So I still went to St. George, the Catholic church, because that's where my grandparents went. I started going to CBC, and I remember Pastor Ed was up there, and he said about a legacy. And he said, a legacy is not what somebody leaves for you, it's what they leave in you. And it was in a moment where I was in a place where I needed to hear that. And from there, that's when I just started to connect with that church, and then my faith got deeper, starting getting into Bible studies. And I was like, you know what? Like, for me to grow, I have to make sure that I'm spiritually right. And if I keep God first in my business, I keep God first in my life, I know I'll continue to thrive on who I'm going to become.
Yeah, that's awesome. Man, it's funny. There's a lot of similarities there too. I mean, I grew up Catholic too, You know, I would go to San Juan de los Lagos Church on the west side with my grandmother. You know, so she instilled that faith in me at a young age.
Is that the church from the Brady Bunch?
It's right down the street from the Boys and Girls Club on 19th Street.
Yeah, I went there one time with one of my the old lady from the Brady Bunch used to go to church there.
Really?
One of my good friends we grew up with in middle school. His grandma lived right out there off Trinity, right by the basketball courts.
Oh yeah.
And we would go to
My grandmother lived off of Trinity too.
Really?
Yeah, at Sacred Heart Apartments.
We were right. Yeah, it was right across the street from that.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
like that was the first time I had hot Cheetos and cheeses over there. They had a little convenience store. I was like, that was it.
Yeah, man, that's the west side, right?
That's the west side. They put you on.
And then and then I also went to CBC as well, and man, like that church was just it just really hit the spirit different. But to relate, like man, you get to a point in life where, I don't know if you ever reflect back on, just like where God saved you when you probably shouldn't have been saved. Like kept me out of trouble or kept me from getting hurt when I could have gotten hurt or I could have gotten more trouble. It's like, when you start to recognize the presence and then you're like, hey, I got some chances here to do something with myself.
That happened a couple of times with me. Before I got in real estate, I've never even told this story really. I used to play poker a lot. So I would promote, I would play poker. I had kiosks in the mall, so I owned Shoe Magics. I had 17 of them, yet they weren't really profiting. And my perception was not my reality. And people thought I was making more money than I was, yet the money I was making was either going back to the music or it was going back to the kiosk to keep that around. Or I had my son in private school, and it was like continuing to juggle a lot of things at one time to where I remember I had about $2,000 left in my account. And I was like, I'm going to go to this poker game. This is before I was in real estate. And I was taking the test, looking to pass it, couldn't pass it. And I left the poker game, lost my ass. I lost like $1,500, had like $500 left. I was like, man, I'm a damn loser. So I remember I left there, I was speeding, I had been drinking. I was like, man, I'm just going to forget it. So I pop a curb. I'm going to pop a curb. I was like, I'm going to hit this tree, miss the damn tree. I'm like, I'm such a loser, I can't even hit a tree right. I'm like, so I called my mom. She was like, come home. So I went to her house, and I was like, man, this is what's going on. And she was like, man, it's like, you need to start going back to church. That was another time that I guess I know that God showed up in my life and was like, hey.
You had some divine intervention right there,
man.
We moved the tree from you.
Yeah, like, he's like, so I've had moments where I know that I look at it and I'm like, okay, God's speaking to me now. And even with my mom, like when she passed, my grandpa passed 4 years later. It was on the same exact day.
Oh, wow.
Like July 19th. It was the same exact day, 4 years apart. And I'm like, that's like a sign. And then like the way my mom passed she was at a casino in Louisiana, and she was in the restroom in her room at the casino, and she just passed out from a blood clot. And then my grandma, it's about 4 months ago, she was in Vegas at a bingo tournament in her room in the restroom just passed out. Same exact way they both passed away. Man. So when I look at things, I'm like, those signs that I'm like, okay, like this happened like this happened like this, like there's signs that they're together. To me, that's how I look at it. So I think God shows up in different ways. I never know why a lot of times, yet I know that there's a bigger purpose. And I've had a lot of people come into my world over the last 5-6 years that end up losing a loved one or somebody in their life that I'm now looking at it like, I'm able to have empathy for these people because I've been through something similar.
Right. Yeah.
Compared to not just having sympathy, like, oh, I feel bad for you. Like I can actually relate and talk to you about how I felt in that moment or how I was able to get through certain situations. And I think God's blessed me with that kind of ability to be able to help lead people through those situations.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's part of the character development too, and building us up to become the person that we're becoming. I mean, when you, you've heard this in church probably several times. It's like God, when you give your life to Christ, and God will transform you. Jesus will transform you, right? And to whatever it is that you're supposed to be, and who you're supposed to be for, whoever you're supposed to be that person for. The beautiful thing in being in real estate or just being human in general is like being able to touch lives in a positive way, where whether it's through your experiences or things that you've learned, knowledge that you've gained, just to help people and lead them in the right direction or point them in the right direction, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So what would you say were like some of the biggest obstacles you faced like early in your career in real estate?
It was the rebranding side. I would get pressure to go back outside. Like I would get calls like, "Hey, you wanna go to this tonight?" And I had to really take about 2 years of just not going out at all.
Yeah.
So that was one of the bigger things. And then the mindset, like I was so growth minded that I was taking every class.
Yeah.
Like there was a class called Bold. I took for Keller Williams. I took that 4 times in 1 year. It's the same class, but I took it 4 times.
Must have been a good one.
It was a good. I mean, we go to church every Sunday, and it's the same book.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
it's
there's always something to be learned, right?
Right. So and again, I was learning and I just liked being around different environment. And it was different because everyone was so like positive, and it wasn't the same as a lot of people I grew up with, and even being in the nightlife. Because in the nightlife, you're dealing with drunk people every night, and I'm having to calm people down, do this, do that. With this, it was just people that just were looking to see themselves win or change, and it was like I enjoyed being around those type of people.
Yeah, with no guarantee, right? Everybody's just banking on their own effort.
Yeah, so I created a lot of accountability groups in the beginning, and one thing I learned back then, I still learning now, is I wanted it more for other people than they wanted for themselves, and I never really understood that because I would see so much in people, and especially in the beginning, where I'd be like, "Hey, meet me at the office tomorrow." 8:30, we're going to script practice. 9 o'clock, we're going to make calls. Or 9 o'clock, we're going to go down to this neighborhood. We're going to door knock it, this and that. And I would tell 20 people, 10 people would text back, and 5 people would show up. And I'd be like, why don't the other 15 people like want it like we want it? Like, I don't get it. And then over time, like they would be back working another job, doing something else. They'd be out of the business. And that's why I was like, you know what? That's one of the reasons I started a team too, was because I was like, man, I'm pushing so many other people that I can't hold them accountable to a high level because they're not part of really my organization. So if I can bring them into an organization where this is the culture we have as accountability, I think that's going to help people succeed. Right. And I've seen it happen. So we've had 19, 20-year-olds, making 6 figures, mm-hmm. which is game changer coming straight out of high school.
Yeah.
And people that from bars becoming bartenders coming into this season and just rebranding them as who they are now in real estate. It's a blessing to be able to see that happen. Yet I think in the beginning the challenges were people and their mindset, and then my mindset, also transitioning to I have to be able to accept them for who they're going to become, because I can't save everybody.
Yeah.
And sometimes from a leadership, you're looking to save somebody, you're like, but you could be harming them because this might not be the place for them.
Right.
And they might be better off actually working at 95 or something like that. So I would want to hold on to somebody for so long to where I'm actually harming their income because they're not making no money in real estate. They're not showing up, but I'm still like, hey, you need to come up, you need to do this and that. And they should probably be doing it 9 to 5.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I've struggled with too is like it's almost like you discover gold, right? And I'm like, hey, I found all this gold. Everybody, this gold's right here. Like,
yeah,
you're like, that ain't real gold, man. And, they don't believe you, so right, they don't want to come after it. And when I'm referencing growth, I'm talking about the knowledge, the work ethic, the things that lead to a positive change and lead to results, right? And you want to share it so much with people because you know how good it is, because how what it's done for you. And then, but it does sting when you don't see them, have that same passion or, come with that same drive or that desire to want a higher level of success. And you're right. Like, man, everybody has a different path, and everybody has a season and why they're around us for whatever time. Sometimes it's short time. Sometimes it's a long time. It just depends. The ones that are meant to be around for the long haul will be, and the ones that are not, they'll move on. And you just got to keep it moving, right? I think that's the main thing right there. Were there any moments in your career that you doubted the path that you were on?
Maybe with the team, because sometimes when you grow the team to a certain size, you're like, man, I'm better off just going back off by myself. Yet,
It's like herding cats around here.
yeah. So I've had that. Yet that also is selfish of me to do that, because if I have the ability to lead people, and if I have the knowledge to help people win and grow, for me to be able to just stay small would be selfish of myself, and I don't think I would continue to help myself grow. And for me to be able to attract people that are like-minded, that are looking to be successful in this business, I think I'll still be blessed as we continue to win. So even the struggles and the difficulties, the fascinations that happen in this business, I think it's worth it when I see somebody have a breakthrough.
Right.
And I see somebody change the trajectory of where they were going. So I think that's probably one of the things that's happened over time. But as far as have I felt real estate is where I'm supposed to be, I feel it's where I'm supposed to be right now. I do think that I'm going to get more into development and other parts of it actually this year. Yet I still have that real estate team and organization. I see that growing even bigger this year.
It's the path to lead to the next level, right? Mm-hmm. You're building blocks, right? You're building on top of it.
It's an arm length away. So like I already have a title company ownership in that. We already have the property management. We already have the media side. Mm-hmm. Next will be mortgage and development.
Yeah, so just keep adding more arms.
Yeah.
And like an octopus.
Very much.
Spreading out them tentacles. So, you know, as you kept moving and building up these teams or team, you know, I definitely can relate to where, you know, you want everybody to be very, very successful, but then there's the numbers game, right? You know, it's like there's always a smaller percentage that's going to be your best. And that's okay, right? And then some, they're going to come and they're going to grow with you, and some, you know, they'll move on. But as far as your leadership style, well, you know, what values do you prioritize when building your team?
I look for humility. I look for faith-based. I look for people that have hunger inside of them. Mm-hmm. Competency. I look for people that are like-minded. I do look for servant leaders. So somebody that understands once you start like a team, it's no longer about you, it's about them. And that's how I look at it. So if they're going to start a team inside of our organization, they understand it's not about them.
Right.
Growth mindset, not a fixed mindset. So always learning based. No matter where you grow into this business, you can always be learning based. A team player, when you're in a team, it's about we, it's not about me. And just leveling up together. You know, we help each other succeed. It's not an individual game. It's not, if that's what you think this is, then you're probably better off by yourself. Yet if you want to win as a whole, we're gonna do this as a group. It's not a Scott Malouff thing. It's not anybody else on the team. It's a international MIG. It's an MIG together. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And so, you know, with the mindset and the values that you have, like, so how do you foster the growth mindset, like within the organization for your agents?
I think it starts with the faith, like we talked about, and then from there, it's just making sure that they're educated as well. So it's like in a partnership, like with you and your wife. Like if you're reading a book, it's good for her to probably read the same book, because you're gonna start thinking things and learning things, and you don't want to outgrow that relationship. So if you're going to church and she's not going to church, that could hinder the relationship. And so like for us, we go to CBC as a team at 2. We bring in the Bible study, and then when it comes to education, we have them in group coaching. So every Monday we do our 4-on-1 meetings at 8:30 to 9, and then we have different levels of coaching, and they grow into different levels of coaching. And with the coaching, I also have meetings with the coaches on how we're going to coach the team. So we have 0 to 3 million. We have group coaching, 3 million to 6 million. We have another group coaching, 6 million to 10 million. There's another group coaching. So everyone's in some type of group coaching. And then once they've reached the 10 million mark, then I pay for half of their one-on-one coach. And then 15 million, then I fully pay for their one-on-one coach. Yet, even with the coaches, I'm having conversations on how we're going to grow them or what leadership looks like. And the coaches understand that too. Like, okay, for them to be able to lead, they need to become this person, while it still aligns with the organization and how we do that together. And that's like having a director of sales, yet I just have them as coaches.
Nice, man. That's also because you have, not only do you have the growth mindset, you also have an organizational structure that sets your team up for success, right? And you know, it's a lot. It's a lot to take in. A lot of people probably don't understand, like, you know, how the heck do you manage all this, right? You know, how do you put all this thing together? You know, what helps you, you know, being able to handle all the, from the different levels of coaching and keeping up with everybody and everything that you do as well.
It's being all in all the time. And also just knowing my people. Like, I know them on a personal level to where it became a family. Like, if you look at our team, like, a good amount of our team has been with me for longer than 4 to 5 years. Some have been with me since the beginning. So, like, when I look at that and I look at how far we've all come, like, I don't see them leaving anytime soon. I just have to continue to think bigger for them to continue to live in my world. And if I continue to think bigger and create more opportunities, then they're going to continue to stay involved, be the leaders that I need them to become. And then they're going to attract more people that are going to end up becoming who they are. And then I'm going to find more opportunities for everybody at the end of the day.
Right on. So what you're doing is you're building more leaders and giving them responsibilities so they can help, you know, continue to build their leaders as a way to contribute to their growth and advancement, which keeps them focused on the path of growth and advancement, as opposed to, like, I hit the ceiling, where do I go now? You know? And then they start rethinking everything, and as you keep them so busy, like, hey, we got a path and we got a long way to grow.
Yeah, productive is the word we use, and it's true. True leaders don't develop followers; they develop more leaders.
Right.
And my goal is to develop leaders in our organization.
I love that. And with all the responsibility that you have, you know, how do you take care of Scott? Like, you know, how does Scott take care of himself? You know, be able to balance it all out.
I have a white space time and I have a family time. So between 5 and 7 every day, that's like, I used to be with my grandparents. Now it's really just me and my son. That's like our time. And then I have a white space time, which is between 9 and 11 p.m. And then I have another white space time, which is in the morning between 6:30 and 7:30. It's just thinking time. And those are the times that I just kind of, you know, keep for myself. I like the cold plunge. I like to do certain things like that. That kind of helps me stay calm. I'm really calm all the way around. So it's not like I'm really hyper. I'm not a hyper person.
Yeah.
So
you have a real calm demeanor for sure.
Yeah, it's really just, and I like to stay like that throughout the whole day.
Yeah.
Like, it's very rare you'll see me out of, like, unless I'm drinking. I'm not drinking right now at all. But yeah, if I was drinking, then that's the only way you might
turn up a notch.
You might see my Gemini come out. Yeah. Otherwise, I'm just chill.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the ways, if you look at life, like, everything's moments. There's no such thing as bad days. There's just bad moments. And you can't let a moment ruin a movement. So I just know that, you know, when something happens, I just, okay, that's cool. Bad or good.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely relate to that. It's, you know, I learned one thing. I forgot what book I was reading. I think it was Think Your Way to Wealth. And Andrew Carnegie talks about being poised, you know, and being calm and you know, always having this sense of just, like, you know, not letting the emotions get in the best of being aware of any emotional feelings, right? Mm-hmm. And when you have that poise and you have that emotional control, it allows you to make good decisions, you know. And I can think back, and any bad decision I've made, I was either one, intoxicated, or two, I was angry.
Yeah,
you know. And but you don't ever want to let anger to get the best of you, especially in this type of business. And you know, it can be a roller coaster. You know, you got ups and downs, and you deal with other people with other emotions, and they get all fired up. And
yeah, I say this a lot, but if it doesn't matter in 5 years, it shouldn't matter in 5 minutes.
There you go.
You gotta let that go.
I love that. So with real estate being as dynamic as it is, and you know, it's the cycles of everything. You know, what's been your biggest setback, and how have you bounced back from that?
Probably the market in 2023. That was a hit in the jaw because I had such fixed expenses that the market just took a hit.
It did, man.
And,
Big time.
and we weren't making what we were making.
It's like, hey, where the money go?
Yeah, and I'm like, I'm living life crazy, going to Vegas. I was like, man, like I got to switch it up. So I didn't let nobody go. Like I didn't, like as far as my staff, and I had to do an extra grind and figure out other ways to keep everything afloat and really just dive into a lot of my savings that I have been saving up. So from there, it's like, okay, I'm making good, really good money. And then it's like, boom. And it's like, okay, if my fixed expenses are here and I'm not even making half of that right now. And I had to go through that for almost a year to get back to where we are. Yet it's weathering the storm. And I remember Gary Keller talked about that being the buffalo. And you weather the storm. And if you get through it, then you're going to be good. And 24, first half of the year was kind of like, boom. Second half, we started, and then fourth quarter, we back. And it's like, now I'm in a place where like, okay, I'm good. Like I'm in a place where I'm not where I was.
It's better.
But I'm the oxygen's back on.
Yeah.
And I'm able to put oxygen in other people again. Right. And it's good because I didn't let nobody go. They made it through that season. And now I could see a future of being able to help make them more money, also creating more opportunities and helping just the business continue to thrive.
Right on it. And how did your faith play a role in this whole trend?
It helped. I was actually in Pastor Ed's personal Bible study for a year, and that was really during this season. So it was a group of men. He picks 10 businessmen a year that he kind of does a one-on-one, like we meet once a week, and that helped me get through that season because it was during that season when the perception was still there, yet the reality was not there. Like kind of like before I was, but I wasn't at a place where I was still comfortable, but I just wasn't. I was bleeding, and the bleeding, I didn't know when the bleeding was going to stop. And I had always heard like, oh yeah, there's cycles in real estate, and I'm like, man, I'm up every year.
Like, what cycle?
Yeah, I'm like, I'm
until you get hit
7 years in it, and I'm 7 years in it, and every year I did more and more transactions every year, and then I'm at 531 transactions, and it drops down to 300, and I'm like, that's a big difference in income to drop from 531 to 300. Yeah, and then luckily last year we went back up to over 400, so we're back, and then now we're at a place where we're back at 50 transactions, 60 transactions a month, which is this year we should do 600 transactions. Nice. So for me, it helped me, understand that, hey, you got to slow down, or maybe there's some things you're doing in your life that you need to change. Like I said, back in 22, to Vegas 4 or 5 times. Like I was like, gambling crazy.
He was living the dream.
Yeah, I was like, man, I was, but it wasn't nothing with like, I just like the gamble. Like I like the roulette, I like bingo, I like poker. So I just like certain things that I was like, you know what, and again, that goes back to God and trust you with this money. Right. And you ain't doing right. And I'm like, well, you gonna mess up everybody in the whole country because of this? But no, it was an eye opener for me because
everybody. He sent a message to everybody. The same as you.
So I was like, all right. So I made those changes, and I know there's certain people in this business right now that are still weathering the storm.
Right.
And I know there's some decisions I had to make that making those decisions helped me get through it, I believe, faster than most. Because I look back at my integrity, it's there. I look back at who I was to who I am now. Nobody can question me. Like, I know who I am as a man. Right. I know when I wake up every day, I'm showing up as the best version of myself. And as long as I'm doing that, I don't feel anything is going to happen that's going to take me down the wrong path.
Right. Yeah. So as far as the character is concerned, and and the way you operate and carry yourself, those things are aligned now. It's just maybe a habit here, a habit there that might need to be tweaked. But
I don't even think, because right now I'm not gambling, I'm not drinking.
You stop the gambling.
Yeah, my habits at the moment are, I feel in a good place.
Yeah.
So, and that's as of today. Like, I mean, it's this year. Like, I have certain things that I've decided that I'm not doing right now. So,
and that's good. I think that comes with growth, right? A lot of times when we're doing well, it's easy to kind of get sucked into the things that we like, the comfort, the leisure activities, whatever it is. And then there's a season that comes that says, hey, you need to change some of these things. You maybe not be too healthy for you or whatever, and reflect, and you're like, all right, I'll change that little tweak here, tweak there, and it's only for the better, and then from there you take yourself to that next level, and I think that's also a contribution to the next version of yourself and your transformation, right? Because like you said, we're never the same. Like today, tomorrow, you're not going to be the same. The next day, you're just going to keep improving. You either improve or not, right? So it's all about what you want and how aware are you of what's going right and what's not, and what needs to be adjusted.
Yeah, that's very true. I mean, if you look at life, there's a book called. Have you read the book Power of Moments?
No, I have not.
This lady, she got diagnosed with cancer, and the doctor said, "Hey, you got 60 days to live," and she was like, "Okay, I got 60 days left." And she's like, "How am I gonna live my 60 days?" And she's like, "I'm gonna spend time with this person. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do X. I'm gonna do Y." And then it has an exercise in it that says, if you were to have 30 days to live, what would the perfect 30 days look like for you? Mm-hmm. How would you live those 30 days? Right. Like, if you knew, like, okay, this is it. Like, I got to live. First off, I'm going to live like Christ, because I got to make sure I make it to heaven.
I got to get right with God first.
So I got to make sure that's right. And then who am I going to spend time with? How am I going to spend my day-to-day? Like, what does that look like? And then it says, why are you not living your life like that now? Mm. And if you were to write out what your perfect day would look like, why don't you live your life like that every day? Mm-hmm. And that's one thing that I started looking at, like, okay, if I was to write out my perfect day, this is what it would look like. Mm-hmm. And I think going into a new year where we're at in 2025, you can write what 2025 is going to look like for you. It's up to you to live it.
Right.
And, a lot of people will take action. A lot of people won't. Yet, if you don't write it, then you don't even know where you're going. You don't even know who you're going to become. Right. So I think that's one thing that people miss, is they're too messed up in the noise, and they hear this and they're like, oh, I gotta be here, I gotta be there. Like, no, what does the perfect day look like for you?
Right.
And are you living that?
Yeah.
And then you just live that. What is the perfect moments, and you live that every day?
I think a lot of times, us as just humans, we get caught up in comparison and what other people are doing, and having that FOMO, and just like, oh, I should be doing that, or should be doing this, or that looks fun, or this looks fun, and start chasing the wrong things, and but when you really think about it, right, and what you really want, it's none of those things, what someone else got going on.
That's that saying, because comparison is a thief of joy.
It is, yeah.
And when you start comparing, your joy is going to go away. Just be happy. Just be happy with what you got.
Right on.
Even if it's not a lot, just live. Just be thankful.
Well, that's the thing is the power of gratitude. Mm-hmm. Because if you're not grateful for what you have today, then how are you going to be grateful for what's coming to you tomorrow? You know what I'm saying?
Not grateful for the small things. He's not going to give you the big things.
That's right, 100%. So with that, how do you personally define success in real estate and as a leader?
Success. So there's a difference, I think, between success and fulfillment. Mm-hmm. People can look at success as, they're making money, or they're doing this or doing that. Fulfillment for me is when the people in my life are living the life that they're supposed to live. Mm-hmm. They're utilizing the gifts that they have, and they're showing up as the best version of them. Mm-hmm. If the people in my life are living like that, and I'm living like that, then I'm living in a fulfilled journey. Mm-hmm. And then being able to give, because in life it's not about what you get, it's about what you give.
Right.
And if I'm able to do certain events, like we talked about the philanthropy side, if I'm able to do that and give back to who my prior self was, then there might be a kid that might be in middle school that just got in trouble, that might see something and inspire him to be future who we are today.
Right.
And if I can inspire one of those kids, that's fulfilling.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think, you know, a lot of times we get caught up in, just in general, chasing the materialism and defining that as success, right? It's always, I think there's this verse Paul Wall says, right? My diamonds in my mouth symbolize success or something like that.
Yeah.
But it's like, sometimes it's the diamonds, the shiny things, and that's all. It's all good, but it's not something that like it doesn't last forever, right? It's not something it's gonna make you a better person,
It's not. And that's like growing up when we were younger, we would look at certain things and we would say, okay, this dude's successful. It was like a D-boy, or it was certain people in the streets. And that if we're able to, like, because now with social media, make it to where people, instead of looking up to the drug dealers, they're looking up to like, oh, damn, I want to be a real estate agent, or I want to be a mortgage officer, or I'm going to be XYZ, because they see the success that can come with that instead of the success that comes with slinging some other stuff that's going to get you locked up.
Right, right.
Yeah, and we have the opportunity to do that, to be able to change what influences the younger generation now compared to back in the day. I didn't even know really what real estate was,
right,
until I got older, because even when my uncle that's in real estate, one lived in Kansas City and the other one was in the Air Force. So I didn't know, like, for a little bit, I was like, well, should I get in the military? Yeah. But I was like, nah, that's
how do I do this?
Yeah. So
you didn't have any hands-on training.
Yeah,
right
so I was like, so it wasn't like I looked up and it was like, oh, dang, real estate's the next move, or that's where I need to be. It wasn't until later on, like almost in my upper 20s, and I'm like, okay, that's probably something I should do. Yeah. Yet now, somebody that's 14, 13 years old, 15 years old can look and say, all right, they're making money doing that. Like, maybe I should do this path. Or, like, it's not, I don't think it's as bad as it used to be.
Yeah.
As far as for the kids, as far as looking at, like, their future. Yeah. I don't think there's still some that are out there acting wild. Yet there's some that.
They're a byproduct of their environment or whoever's raising them.
Yeah. But I think there's an opportunity to be able to go back and just talk to them and say, hey, there's another path.
Well, and I think the beauty of, just like social media in general and being able to create and put content out there that, tells a different story and shows, what's possible through different vehicles, right? And I think I've noticed, I've seen a lot of more and more, ex-felons, changing their life and doing something different and saying, hey, like, that ain't the way, whatever it is that, they fed us back then, that was a trap, and being able to be a voice to, and this has always been a passion for me is, like you mentioned, is looking back at your younger self and being able to, hey, let me shed some light on, hey, what's possible. There's something else out there for you. You can become somebody. You can be whoever you want to be. Like, man, there's really no limits to what you can accomplish in this world. As long as you have a desire and you're willing to put in the work. If you're willing to put in the work and pay the price, then it leads you there. But one of the things that you mentioned, and I heard you talk about multiple times, is a hunger for education and knowledge. Like I don't know if this was just for you, just kind of subconsciously, you're just like, I need to learn more things and just go get this education. Did you go to college?
I went a little bit. I had failed out, but yeah.
So you went for a little bit,
yeah. But it wasn't like that wasn't my goal out of high school. My goal was promote. I was at college really just promoting. Like, hey, we got a college night going on this Thursday. Like, it wasn't till I got older where I was like really looking to educate myself. Really got in real estate.
Well, I think that's awesome because a lot of times, I went to college, but I feel like I needed it. But, people don't understand, like, okay, you can be hungry for education, but like, okay, well, how do you get that discipline to do that, right? Where does that fire come from? And then the action, right, to go and like actually do it. And you mentioned, having to take your license, your state and national exam multiple times. You're like, man, I just kept going until I passed. Like, some people are gonna quit. Like, what's that mindset? Like, you gotta.
And then so that was another thing when I first got my license was I stopped listening to music for a good amount of time. Uh-huh. And when I drove, it was listening to Jim Rohn. I really don't listen to music now either.
Yeah.
But it was
very
like
selective.
Jim Rohn, Zig Ziglar. There were certain people that I was listening to on the way to the office, and I was like, man, these conversations are different. And when they talk about you become the 5 people you hang around, those were one of the people I hung around because I was just listening to them so much that they were starting to influence me on the way they thought and the way they talked. So
That's gold right there.
I still feel that listening to those, YouTubes and those shorts do help, and then reading too. Like I said, I'm dyslexic, but when it comes to like audibles, I listen to an audible once a week, and that helps me too because it puts me in a different world, and I'm driving and I'm in this whole story and I'm listening to this and I'm understanding the finance sides of things. Like I'm reading a book right now just about taxes, a whole book about taxes. I don't think 10 years ago I wouldn't be like, what is tax? I'm not, like,
I probably need to learn a little something about this.
So like now it's like the more I educate myself, the better leader I'm going to become.
Right.
And if I'm not going to educate myself and do that, then the people with me or that are in my organization, then they're not going to level up either because they're not going to think it's important to them. Yeah. Yet if they see it's important to me, then it's going to be important to them, and then that's how we win together.
Man, love that. Leaders are learners, man. That's what they say, right?
Yeah.
Leaders are learners, and I think when you have a culture like what you've created, and God-centered, growth mindset, learning culture, like, man, I think that right there is unstoppable.
Yeah.
What's what can be accomplished.
First you learn, then you earn, then you return.
Boom. Hey, man, you got some good quotes, man. Those are some good ones. Hey, so we're getting towards the end. I wanted to see, okay, if you could leave our listeners with one powerful message, whether it's overcoming adversity in real estate or just life in general, man, what would be some advice that you'd want to shoot out there for the younger Scott, maybe listening, or
don't let limited mindsets limit you from who you're going to become. There's going to be a lot of people that tell you you can't do this, you can't do that, or that can't happen. If you put your all in and you push yourself, you can be or become anything you're looking to become. Just show up as your best version of yourself and take out limited beliefs inside of your mind.
That's right. I love that. Limitations, I mean, they prevent people from growing, right?
Yeah. People speak it over people all the time. Well, you can't do that, or you ain't gonna be able to hit it. And just because somebody else wasn't able to do it doesn't mean you can't do it.
Right.
Like I remember coming in, one of my older mentors, actually a family member, he was like, "You're not gonna be able to do this many." I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna sell this many homes my first year," and it was a smaller number than what I even said. Yeah. And he's like, "You're not gonna be able to do that." I'm like, "Why not?" He's like, "There's no way you can do that first year." And I was like, okay. So that kind of put a little fuel under me too. So I was like,
lit you up.
I'm running all in. So
I'm about to show you.
Yeah, people will put and sometimes they do it because they think they're helping you, or they think that they're gonna, like, by them telling you that it's like helping you from failure. Yeah, it's okay to fail. Yeah, fail stands for first attempt I learned. Mm-hmm. So when you fail, you're actually learning. So I like to fail because I learn and I grow. Some people fail and they don't learn from it, and they do it again and do it again, and Yet my goal is to fail, take out fear. Fear stands for false evidence appearing real. So when you have no fear and you say, okay, if I fail, I'm going to learn and I'm going to grow, then you can be whoever you're going to be in life.
That's right. I think as soon as you get out of your mind of not wanting to fail, and say, okay, I'm just going to fail at some point, I'm going to hit failure. It's like, I relate it to working out, when you're out in the gym, and it's like, if you want your muscles to grow, you hit a point of failure, right? Mm-hmm. You got to get to that point of exhaustion. And it's the same thing in life. If you want higher degrees of success, well, then you're going to hit a point of failure. You're going to get to a point where, hey, like, this ain't working. I need to do something different. Yeah. And they always say, like, what got you here won't get you there, right? So from point A to point B to your next destination, there's gonna need to be some changes, and it's there's gonna be a little struggle along the way. So, but it's gonna be okay. Learn from it.
That is very true. But in what got you here, you can create a playbook that could help other people get there. So, and that's one thing. It's like, okay, this might not get me to here, where I am here now. Yet the person that just came in, this could probably help them get to where I am. And then from there, I'm creating these playbooks all around the journey.
Paves the path.
Yeah, and if you create those playbooks and you create, a learning opportunity for people to say, okay, you want to call for sale by owners? I'm not calling no more yet. I'm going to teach you how to do that. Yeah. And I'm going to teach you how to be the best person that makes those calls and be able to have that value proposition to when you call this for sale by owner, you're going to need an appointment automatically.
Yeah.
Or when you're calling this expired listing, you're going to get that appointment, and I'm going to show you exactly what to do to be able to win. Yet my job, like where I am today, that's not what I'm doing on a day-to-day basis. I'm in a whole different world, yet creating those playbooks on your path will help other people succeed.
You got the playbooks, then you got the leaders also in place that help coach along the way as well.
Yep.
You know, everybody that you built up, and they're building up more.
We ain't stopping.
I love it, baby. I love it. Thank everybody for joining us. That's the end of our show. We'll catch you on the next one.
Appreciate it, bro.
Hey, appreciate you, big dog.
love?
Man, that was good. I loved, man, you got a lot of good stuff, man.